Oh, darling, fasten your seatbelt, or should I say grip your broom, because today I've uncovered the juiciest whispers about HBO's Harry Potter reboot. We're talking book-accurate leaks straight out of Hodston, a £4 million Hogwarts Express chugging along in Prince William's backyard, Emma Watson surprising fans with her pointed words about J.K. Rowling, and even a few Voldemort rumors slithering their way back into the discourse. This isn't just a reboot, love. It's shaping up to be bigger, bolder, and more spellbinding than any of us dared imagine. And before I spill my next secret, do make sure you've subscribed, won't you? Come closer, darling. I've uncovered a secret about the wizarding world's latest rebirth, and if I whisper it just right, perhaps you'll feel the chill of a Dementor's cloak and the warmth of butterbeer all at once. September 29th, 2025, the day the Potter fandom practically combusted because filming for HBO's grand adaptation is not just underway, it's thundering forward like the Hogwarts Express itself. You see, love, this isn't a remake. Not really. It's a reclamation. 10 years of television, 1 season for each of Rowling's 7 books, or should I say tomes, because they've grown mythic, haven't they? Each season a tapestry, finally letting those skipped subplots breathe. Remember Spew, poor Dobby being, well, a footnote? Peeves the poltergeist lost to cinema? Oh, they're being summoned back from the cutting room grave. HBO's dangling a promise, and it smells faintly of galleons. Oh, wait, there I go again. Pounds. 75 million pounds an episode, darling. That's, about $100 million for our muggle cousins across the pond. Imagine the prop budget for cauldrons alone. And the leadership at the helm? Francesca Gardner, with that Succession sharpness, and Mark Mylode, who steered Game of Thrones through some of its frostier storms. It's as if the wizarding world married politics and fantasy in a grand literary cocktail. I'd drink it neat. But let's slip into Leavesden Studios, Hertfordshire, a location that's practically hallowed ground for Potterheads. On July 14th, 2025, production officially ignited under the codename Dark Train. I do love a codename, don't you? Sounds like a spy thriller, or perhaps one of Trelawney's more foreboding prophecies. There, vast sets rise from steel skeletons, half a mile of track for the Hogwarts Express, a bespoke school for over 600 child actors. Yes, 600. Imagine the chaos of their wardrobe fittings. Holly Waddington, Oscar winner for Poor Things, has her wand in that cauldron, conjuring book-accurate robes so authentic I half expect the hems to smolder if you miscast a spell. And then the Golden Trio. 32,000 hopefuls stood in line, all wanting the lightning scar or the time turner. And after that storm, HBO anointed 3. Dominic McLaughlin as Harry, Arabella Stanton as Hermione, and Alastair Stout as Ron. Dominic's round glasses photo dropped in July, and Fandom lost its collective, oh, but I promised I'd never use collective. You lost your breath, didn't you, darling? Admit it. You pictured him staring into the mirror of Erised. Arabella, trained, clever, sharing a school with royal children. Can't you just see her cutting Malfoy down with that first, "It's Leviosa"? And Alastair? All freckles and warmth, the kind of Ron who could win a chess match and still blush when you catch his eye.
The adults, of course, are the jewels in this crown. John Lithgow as Dumbledore, twinkly-eyed, yes, but with gravitas. Papa Esidu as a younger Snape. I can almost hear the syllables dripping with disdain already. Janet McTeer, statuesque and steel-hearted, sleeping into McGonagall's tartan. Nick Frost, lumbering joyfully as Hagrid. And Warwick Davis, back as Professor Flitwick. Continuity, like a faint echo across fandom decades. Oh, and Johnny Flynn weaving Lucius Malfoy's silken menace with little Locks Pratt as Draco. It's a banquet, love, and I am greedy for more. But, and here's where it gets delicious, the leaks. Filming outdoors is like trying to hide a dragon egg in a tea shop. Someone always peeks. On September 23rd and 24th, Hoddesdon, Hertfordshire, shimmered into Privet Drive 1980s style. Vernon Dursley's car grumbled through a street alive with robed witches tossing sparks into the night. And there, Daedalus Diggle? Grainy shots suggest him tipping his hat. It's book-accurate glory, filling in what the films left bare, the jubilation of Voldemort's fall while the Muggles clung to their ordinary. Then came Wardon Park Lake, September 28th. Darling, do you remember the book's description? That first-year boat ride? The inky water, the torchlight, Hagrid guiding them to the castle silhouette? Fans have spotted Arabella as Hermione in one of the boats. And the candles floating on the lake itself. A touch of cinematic poetry that. Oh, before I tumble further into lore, darling, a little reminder. Subscribe. You'll want to be here when I uncover the secret link between the Hogwarts Express and a certain prophecy. Yes, I said prophecy. Now, back to the steam and steel. The Hogwarts Express itself, fully built, chugging across Windsor Great Park. A half-mile of track, darling. And who should arrive on set but Prince William, Kate, and the children? Little Louis, barely taller than a cauldron, got to ride the train. The royal family leaning against the barriers watching Mark Mylod orchestrate chaos with hundreds of extras. That's not just a production update, that's a coronation of fandom. Filming's range is staggering. London Zoo, ticking the Hello Snake box. King's Cross Station, Platform 9 3/4, of course. Berry Bush's farm, transformed into greenhouses. Cornwall's cliffs where whispers suggest Shell Cottage or perhaps some other seaside haunt. Even Ile de Seine, a remote French island scouted in May. That one intrigues me. Maritime magic, perhaps, or a scene with Dumbledore's international correspondences. And the fandom chatter? Oh, it's as stormy as a Quidditch final. Rowling's involvement splits opinion. Some cheer, some jeer, some brew endless discourse like pumpkin juice at a feast. Casting diversity sparks fiery debates as it always does. But amidst the noise, the leaks keep trickling. And if you've ever read The Silmarillion, you'll know the truth. Lore loves to leak. Secrets crave an audience. So, where does this leave us? With a 2027 premiere glimmering like a golden snitch, no trailer yet, and speculation thicker than a Hogwarts library dust cloud. Gary Oldman's hinted, oh yes, that Sirius Black might peek through. No confirmation, just a glimmer, like a ghost in the corner of your eye. And between us, darling, I have a hunch that one of the original cast members has already filmed a cameo under HBO's very nose, but I'll save that morsel for another evening. That's where I'll leave you tonight, my lore-loving confidant. Thank you for humoring my tangents, my fumbles, my overbrewed tea. On your screen is my analysis of Hogwarts architecture and its uncanny kinship to Oxford cloisters. That crackle in the air, like a wand mid-incantation. The fan theories are swirling already, faster than owls on a deadline, and it's all for HBO's most ambitious spell yet, their decade-long Harry Potter series. 15 years, nearly a lifetime in fandom years, since we last saw Harry, Ron, and Hermione up on screen. And now, we're promised a reboot. Stranger Things look like a game of gobstones. Now let's be honest, love. Remakes are everywhere. Disney's recycling its catalog like a particularly lazy house elf. But Potter? This one makes sense. It's not just nostalgia, it's opportunity. A decade to stretch, breathe, and finally tell the tales that were left lurking in the margins. Peeves, Winky, the Quidditch World Cup and its glorious chaos, all waiting to be restored. Honestly, it feels like fandom archaeology, doesn't it? Dusting off the lore we always knew should have been there. But let's talk timing. HBO's being coy with dates, no exact premiere yet, and that, my darling, screams scale. You don't wrangle a Leviathan of a series and then scribble a release date in ink. Think Stranger Things. Think House of the Dragon. Productions this colossal take years, and even the most precise time-turner couldn't speed them up. The Whispers, early 2027. Personally, I'd wager a delay or two. Television, like potion making, always takes longer when you stir it properly. And here's the ambitious bit. All 7 books adapted over 10 years, 1 season per book. The idea makes me shiver, in the best way. We'll actually watch Harry, Ron, and Hermione grow in real time, like revisiting your diary entries from adolescence, except with more Dark Lords and fewer crushes on the Ravenclaw Quidditch captain. And Deathly Hallows. Will they slice it in 2, like the films? Or give us 1 season in 2 halves, Stranger Things style? Either way, the cliffhangers are going to be diabolical. So, Season 1, Philosopher's Stone. Picture it, a cupboard under the stairs, a letter by Owl, the boy who lived stepping onto platform 9 3/4 for the very first time. Voldemort's shadow lurking in a turban, the Philosopher's Stone dangling as both MacGuffin and temptation. Simple on the surface, but with hindsight, I bet you'd look rather dashing wielding the sword of Gryffindor when that basilisk turns up, wouldn't you? And now, the cast. Casting reveals have been dropping like Bertie Bott's beans, and I've nearly choked on the excitement. Nick Frost, our Hagrid, a worthy successor to Robbie Coltrane, may he rest in peace. Dominic McLaughlin, Arabella Stanton, and Alistair Stout as the Golden Trio. New names to many, but Arabella's already wowed London's West End in Matilda. I find it delicious, don't you, when unknowns get their chance to carve their names into fandom history. Just imagine, decades from now, convention halls echoing with their signatures. And the Weasley clan, too. Fred and George, played by Tristan and Gabriel Holland, actual twins, thank Merlin. Percy by Rari Spooner, Ginny by Gracie Cochran. The family chaos is practically guaranteed. And the Hogwarts faculty, Papa Essiedu, smoldering as Snape, Janet McTeer as our stern but secretly soft McGonagall, Luke Talon skulking about as Quirrell, and Paul Lithgow, with all his gravitas, stepping into Dumbledore's robes. Though, if you ask me, darling, Dumbledore's greatest trick was always his impeccable timing and his sweet tooth. Oh, and Warwick Davis, returning as Professor Flitwick, continuity like a warm blanket across the fandom's shoulders. Add Serene Saba as Sprout, Richard Duran as Binns. Yes, at long last, our ghostly History of Magic professor is getting screen time. And Breed Brannan as Madame Pumphrey, swooping in with chocolate and scolding. That's a staff list to make any Hogwarts timetable sing. Now, a little tangent. Have you noticed how fandom reacts to casting? It's a ritual. First, outrage, then overanalysis, then acceptance, like Percy Jackson's new cast all over again. We, the lore lovers, cannot resist a prophecy, even if it's just about hair color accuracy. Back to business. Rowling's involvement. HBO insists she's fairly involved, a polite phrase if ever one was.
Officially, she's an executive producer with influence over the writer and director choices. Casey Bloys, HBO's content wizard-in-chief, swears her role hasn't disrupted casting or staffing. But of course, the controversy around her hangs heavier than a dementor in a drafty corridor. Some fans bristle, some shrug, some argue endlessly on forums at 2 in the morning. I see you, love. Yes, you. But producers Francesca Gardner and Mark McLeod have promised a faithful adaptation. Their words, not mine. Faithful. Which means, in theory, no unnecessary tinkering with canon, no erasing of house elves, no trimming of Quidditch World Cup drama. If they hold true, we're in for a decade of canon come to life, which, frankly, thrills the part of me that still rereads the Prisoner of Azkaban chapter with the Time Turner every year without fail. Oh, before I lose myself in tangents again, darling, a little nudge. Do subscribe. You'll want to be here when I spill the tea about a certain rumored Voldemort cameo. Yes, him. He who must not be... Oh, blast, I said it. Now, why is anticipation bubbling so fiercely? Because it's not just a remake, it's a reclamation. Fans want the lore, the layers, the connective tissue the film skipped. Already headlines are sparking about casting, Rowling, set leaks, and budgets. And let's not forget the £75 million per episode figure. That's dragon hoard money. You don't spend that kind of treasure unless you mean to dazzle. So what does this all mean for us, my fellow lore lover? That we're entering a decade-long conversation, one where each year brings not just a new season, but new debates, new fan theories, new heartbreaks. The discourse will ebb and flow like the tide against the cliffs of Cornwall, where they're already scouting for future sets. And so, my darling, I'll leave you with a question. What's the one moment from the books you're aching to see at last? Is it Peeves's poltergeist pranks, Dobby's liberation? Or perhaps, if you're like me, it's the grandeur of the Quidditch World Cup finally unfurled in all its riotous splendor. There's a little storm brewing in the wizarding world, and it isn't coming from a teacup in Professor Trelawney's tower. It's coming from Hollywood boardrooms. Everyone keeps talking about the upcoming Harry Potter TV series, yes? HBO Max's grand retelling, promising 1 book per season. But here's the twist, the deliciously dramatic twist. Netflix might swoop in, like a Hungarian horntail, and steal the whole thing. No, really, that isn't just wild fan theory. Let me explain before you think I've had one too many butterbeers. So here's the situation. Warner Bros., the proud keeper of Harry Potter, the owner of HBO Max, the studio behind everything from Batman to Bugs Bunny, well, they're splitting themselves up by 2026. Think of it like dividing Hogwarts into 2 houses. One house gets all of the glittering jewels, Harry Potter, DC superheroes, HBO. The other house? Cable networks, news channels, and, let's say, a less magical reputation. That first half, the shiny half, is essentially being dangled on the market, a big fat for sale sign, glowing brighter than the dark mark. And who's sniffing around? Paramount, yes. NBC Universal, yes. But the whispers say Netflix is the one truly preparing their Gringotts vaults. Because they don't just want Warner Bros., they may need it. Netflix has been king of the streaming castle for years, but then Disney arrived with its armies of Marvel and Star Wars, Amazon bought its way into Middle-earth, and poor Netflix, what's their crown jewel? Stranger Things. A brilliant gem, certainly, but not exactly a universe you can spin 10 spin-offs from without it feeling, well, upside down. Imagine it, though. If Netflix owns Warner Bros., suddenly they're not just the home of quirky originals. They'd have Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. They'd have Harry blinking Potter. 2 of the biggest fandoms in history. the kind of properties that make you, yes, you, hesitate before canceling that subscription, because where else would you go for the next Wizarding World series? But let's pause. What does that actually mean for us fans? Well, look at Disney's strategy. They bought Marvel and Star Wars, then drowned us in content. Sequels, prequels, spin-offs, side quests. I half expected a 3-part miniseries about the second stormtrooper from the left. Some loved it, some called it fatigue. So if Netflix seizes the keys to the Potterverse, you can almost guarantee they'll press Accio spin-offs faster than you can say Lumos. Marauders? Sorted. Aurora dramas? Absolutely. A school in Brazil or Japan? Oh, you can bet it's on the whiteboard already. But, and it's a big but, love, there's a danger in that. Because too much magic, too quickly, stops feeling like magic at all. Disney has walked that tightrope, wobbling at times. Would we want to see Harry Potter treated the same way, milked until the cauldron runs dry? Or do we prefer our wizarding tales, rare, precious, and savoured, like a good glass of fire whiskey? Now, here's where it gets even trickier. If Netflix buys Warner Bros., they also inherit HBO Max, which means the upcoming Harry Potter show technically would still be theirs. But then Netflix would face a choice. Do they keep HBO Max as a separate house, noble and distinguished, like Ravenclaw? Or do they collapse everything into one giant Netflix empire? I'm being dramatic, but you see the problem. They could bundle, merge, split, delay. In the UK, we don't even have HBO Max, so Netflix might swoop in as the global distributor, much like Disney does with Doctor Who. BBC keeps it at home, Disney beams it everywhere else. I can see the same arrangement forming, HBO for the US, Netflix for the rest of us. But what about the quality of the show itself? Well, Netflix isn't stingy. Stranger Things proves they'll spend dragon-sized piles of gold when they believe in a project. My worry, their notorious gaps between seasons. Stranger Things began in 2016. The 5th season arrives in 2025. That's 9 years, darling, for 5 seasons. Now, imagine that applied to Harry Potter. You cast 11-year-olds for Philosopher's Stone, and by the time you get to Goblet of Fire, they're, well, nearly old enough to apply for a mortgage. Either endless recastings, or 20-year-olds pretending to be 4th years. Goodness, 4th years? You see my point. And the cancellations. Netflix has a rather sharp axe, doesn't it? Shows like Shadow and Bone, Mindhunter, The OA, brilliant, beloved, but cut down after a season or 2. If the Harry Potter series isn't an instant cultural phenomenon, would they hesitate to cancel it? Even with billions invested? I shiver at the thought. Imagine us left with a half-finished saga, Voldemort rising, no resolution. That's the kind of dark magic even Rowling herself wouldn't dare. Still, there are perks. Theme parks, for instance. Universal has been raking in galleons with the Wizarding World attractions. If Netflix owns Potter, perhaps they'd angle for their own park. Stranger Things rides, Witcher quests, a Marauders cafe. Oh, tell me you wouldn't queue for that. So here we are, love. Nothing is certain yet. Warner Bros. Hasn't been sold, no quills have signed the parchment, but the show, that is certain. Cameras will roll, wands will wave, and the boy who lived will live again. The only question is whose banner will fly above the castle gates when the series finally arrives on our screens. HBO's or Netflix's? Oh, and before I vanish like a disillusioned wizard, do make sure you're subscribed, darling. I'll be here untangling every twist, every whisper, every behind-the-scenes spell cast on this franchise we love.
So, my darling lore explorer, that's where we stand. Harry Potter's grand HBO reboot is marching ahead. But if Netflix really does buy Warner Bros., the entire fate of the series, and perhaps the whole wizarding world on screen, could shift overnight. More spin-offs, longer waits between seasons, maybe even the dreadful specter of cancellation. Or perhaps a golden age where Hogwarts, DC heroes, and every story under Warner's roof lives together in Netflix's vault. The truth? It's still all up in the air, like a golden snitch just out of reach. But whatever happens, the boy who lived is about to live again. And I'll be right here, untangling every rumor, every whisper, every spell behind the scenes.
Uncovered some whispers from the set of the Harry Potter reboot that are just too delicious not to share. And let me tell you, it's getting rather wild out there. So gather round, my fellow lore lover, because the magic, or should I say the chaos, just keeps on unfolding. We're going to dive into every single set leak since filming began. Honestly, it's like a sieve, this production, but rather brilliant for us, wouldn't you agree? Then, there's this utterly insane Netflix rumor that could quite literally flip the whole series upside down, like a miscast flipendo charm. We'll also delve into some juicy news about the new full-cast audiobooks, and if that weren't enough, we'll grapple with the ongoing Neville and Emma Watson versus Rowling. Well, let's call it drama, shall we? So, settle in, perhaps with a nice cup of Earl Grey, teacup clink, and let's unravel this magical mess together. Right, so, cameras started rolling back in July 2025 in the UK, and honestly, the leaks have been pouring out ever since. It's almost as if they want us to have an insane sneak peek at how HBO is crafting this reboot, wouldn't you say? First up, the Dursleys. Now, probably the least magical family in the entire series, but my word, they're so important, aren't they? They set the tone for Harry's rather miserable early life, and the show, it seems, isn't holding back. We've seen set photos of Daniel as Vernon Dursley, complete with that magnificent mustache, those slightly ridiculous patterned shirts, and that quintessential "I'm far too important for this nonsense" expression. And then there's Belle Powley as Petunia, sporting blonde hair, which, for a book purist like myself, is a delightful little nod straight from the text, not the dark-haired version the films gave us. That alone, darling, is a clear signal that HBO is aiming for book accuracy that the original films sometimes, well, they just didn't bother, did they? But the real kicker, the detail that made me squeal with delight, was the London Zoo sequence. We have Harry in his oversized Dudley hand-me-down jumper, Dudley himself, and then Piers Polkiss, yes, Dudley's little sidekick, who was right there in the book but completely erased from the movies. HBO is actually including him, which is a glorious little wink to all of us fans who have always pondered, where on earth was Piers? It's not a throwaway choice, my love. It screams that they're committed to bringing these scenes to life exactly as J.K. Rowling penned them. Then came the Prologue leak, and this is where the fandom truly perked up. They are actually filming Vernon Dursley's perspective on the day after Voldemort's fall. You know, the violet-cloaked wizard bumping into Vernon on his way home, cheering that you-know-who has finally gone. Straight from the very first chapter of the book. The movie skipped it entirely, but the show, bless its cotton socks, is putting it in. That's monumental, because it establishes the magical world from the Muggle side, the confusion, the sheer weirdness, the secrecy. It sets a profoundly different tone for the story than the movies ever dared to, don't you think? Iconic locations, too, have been spotted. Platform 9 3/4 is being rebuilt at Leedsden Studios, which is lovely, but HBO went a step further. They actually filmed at the real King's Cross station with Network Rail employees as extras. And who should show up?
The entire Weasley family, Catherine Perkinson as Molly, looking absolutely splendid, plus the child actors for Ron, Ginny, Fred, and George, all captured in costume, ready to board the train with Harry for the very first time. Fans, myself included, went absolutely wild for these shots. The Weasleys are the very heart of the series, aren't they? And seeing them so early, so completely in character, made everything feel wonderfully, deliciously real. We even got our first official image of Nick Frost as Hagrid. Now, say what you will about the casting, but the man looks simply massive, shaggy, and utterly perfect next to a young Harry and Diagon Alley. And speaking of Diagon Alley, they filmed the moment Hagrid buys Harry a hamburger after their Gringotts trip, which is an actual line from the book that was cut from the films. Again, that book accuracy theme just keeps repeating itself like a charming refrain. The sets themselves, according to these marvelous leaks, show a practical Great Hall under construction, not just clever CGI walls, but an actual massive build. Add to that countryside shots near Windsor Grand Park, standing in for the Scottish Highlands, and this thing is already looking far more tactile and lived in than the original movies sometimes managed. Oh, and the curveball, my dear. The Hogwarts Express. It looks almost exactly like the movie version. Same red steam engine, same wonderful vibe. Some fans adore the nostalgia, others are a tad frustrated, saying, why reboot if you're just recreating the old visuals? But here's the thing, the details aren't identical. Reports suggest even the license plate is different, and the train was literally seen upside down during transport. That rather suggests they might be building multiple models, perhaps even for stunts or magical effects we've never seen before. Intriguing, isn't it? And a fun little extra, the set even received a royal family visit. No, not Harry and Meghan, darling. Actual royals dropping by for a peek. That just goes to show you how absolutely massive this project is. It's not just a TV show. It's practically a global cultural event already. So bottom line, every single leak so far points to one glorious thing. HBO is deadly serious about sticking to the books. We're not just rewatching the movies in HD, we're finally getting all those tiny moments we missed the first time around. Now, before I spill the next secret, make sure you've subscribed, love. You'll want to be here when I uncovered the real reason Gandalf hesitated at the Black Gate. Now, let's talk about the bombshell rumor that dropped and had everyone in a bit of a tizzy. Netflix might be about to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, the literal parent company making this Harry Potter series. The reported price tag is a staggering $40 billion. Can you imagine? This is utterly wild, because if it goes through, Netflix wouldn't just own Harry Potter. They'd own DC Comics, Superman, Batman, and HBO itself. They'd essentially sweep up two of the biggest franchises on the planet in one fell swoop. Why would Netflix even consider such a thing, you ask? Because honestly, my dear, they rather need it.
If Netflix acquires Warner Brothers, suddenly they possess DC Comics, they possess Harry Potter. That's two of the biggest entertainment franchises on the planet. That's the kind of intellectual property that simply locks people into subscriptions. You're hardly going to cancel Netflix if that's where all the new Harry Potter content resides, are you? But here's the rub, and it's a rather large one. Netflix has a track record that, quite frankly, terrifies fans. Firstly, they cancel things with alarming speed. Sense8, The OA, Mindhunter, Shadow and Bone, all, sadly, killed before they could properly finish their stories. Imagine that happening to Harry Potter. This show is meant to run for 10 years, one season per book. If Netflix swoops in and then axes it after 2 seasons because it isn't quite hitting those Stranger Things numbers, that would be nothing short of catastrophic. Secondly, Netflix moves at a glacial pace sometimes. Stranger Things fans have been waiting 3 years between seasons. If they implement that here, the child actors will simply age out instantly. Cast an 11-year-old now, and by season 4, they'll be 20, playing 14. Unless they resort to recasting mid-series, which, let's be honest, no one truly wants. Thirdly, there's the danger of oversaturation. Look at what Disney did with Marvel and Star Wars. At first, it was absolutely marvelous, endless content, spin-offs, sideshows. But after a while, a certain fatigue set in. Many hands simply tuned out. If Netflix gets its hands on Harry Potter, they're going to milk it for all it's worth, aren't they? A Marauders show? A Hunting Dark Wizards spin-off? Beauxbaton? No, Ilvermorny prequels, you name it. And while that sounds rather exciting in theory, it could very easily become just too much. There's also the distribution question. In some regions, like our very own UK, HBO Max isn't even available. Netflix, with its global reach, could blast Harry Potter worldwide in a way HBO simply cannot. We might even see peculiar tiered access, like Harry Potter only on Netflix Premium, while HBO Max retains it in the US. That could be utterly brilliant for global fans, or just a rather confusing mess. So, this Netflix rumor is very much a double-edged sword. It could supercharge the franchise with endless content, but it could also derail the one faithful adaptation many of us have been begging for. And let's be absolutely clear. Right now, it is still just a rumor. No official deal has struck. But the mere fact this is even being discussed shows just how incredibly valuable Harry Potter still is in 2025. And if Netflix does buy Warner Brothers, darling, everything about this reboot changes overnight. All right, now for something that honestly got me rather too excited. The brand new Harry Potter full cast audiobooks from Audible and Pottermore. Not only are these packed with A-list talent, I mean, Hugh Laurie as Dumbledore, Riz Ahmed as Snape, Kit Harington as Lockhart, Keira Knightley as Umbridge, James McAvoy as Mad-Eye Moody. The list is truly stacked. But the real surprise, the cherry on top, is the cover art. These aren't your standard stick Hogwarts in the background and call it a day designs. Oh no, each one is absolutely brimming with hidden details, clever reflections, and delightful Easter eggs that connect directly to the very themes of the books. It's basically a treasure hunt for us fans, isn't it? So, let's go through them, shall we? One by delightful one. Philosopher's Stone. This cover looks rather simple at first glance. Hogwarts towering in the background, all grand and imposing. But look again, the castle, my dear, is upside down. Yes! A wonderful visual cue that Harry's world is about to flip completely. And instead of merely focusing on the grandeur of the school, the art places Harry and his friends right at the forefront. You can almost feel the wonder on Harry's face as he realizes his entire life is about to change. It's not just about the castle itself, it's about what it means to him. Oh, and bonus points. Trevor the Toad makes a blink-and-you'll-miss-it cameo if you look closely enough. That's the kind of detail that makes these covers feel truly alive. Chamber of Secrets. This one is all about flight and danger, isn't it? You've got Harry chasing the snitch with Draco Malfoy right behind him. And that's already interesting because Draco's connection to the rogue bludger makes the imagery even sharper. And then there's the snitch itself. The way it's drawn, it almost acts like a mirror, tying into that wonderful reflection theme we see across these covers. Remember, in wizarding lore, snitches are enchanted to remember the first person who touches them. A direct nod to Harry's future role. Clever stuff, truly. Also, if you recall what happens in that particular Quidditch match, Harry's arm bones being vanished, seeing him stretch out for that snitch again is, dare I say, low-key painful. Prisoner of Azkaban. Now this one, my love, is pure genius. At first glance, it's a lovely nod to the classic Bloomsbury cover, Harry and Hermione riding Bookheb. But here's the twist. The perspective is flipped. Instead of just simply showing them in flight, we're seeing them reflected from Sirius Black's point of view. Just think about that for a moment. This is the book where Sirius transforms from terrifying murderer to misunderstood godfather. And this moment of reflection literally shows him seeing Harry and Hermione as his salvation. Add in the full moon in the background, Lupin's little furry problem, of course, and you've got a cover absolutely packed with symbolism. Goblet of Fire. Okay, this one, it straight up gave me chills. You've got Harry and Cedric flying towards the Triwizard Cup, surrounded by lush foliage and even a blast-ended Scroot from Hagrid's class. Cool enough, right? But look closer, darling, at the cup itself. Inside that shiny surface, you can actually see a reflection of a gravestone. And not just any gravestone, it literally says, Tom Riddle. That's the designers basically screaming, hey, remember how this tournament ends? It's not just about the prize, it's about Voldemort's devastating return. Honestly, it's one of the best Easter eggs of the whole set. It's very Percy Jackson prophecy vibes, isn't it? Very subtle, but so impactful. Order of the Phoenix. This one is heavy with emotion, don't you think? You see Harry, battered and bruised, but what's in his glasses? The reflection of the Ministry duel. Dumbledore versus Voldemort. The detail is simply insane. The green of Nagini and Voldemort's curse clashing with the red of Fawkes and Dumbledore's fire. The split of colours across Harry's face is subtle, but so powerful. A visual nod to his connection to both Voldemort and Dumbledore, and his ongoing battle with identity. And thematically, this is absolutely perfect for Order, because it's the book where no one believes Harry, and suddenly the truth is literally reflected in his very own eyes. Half-Blood Prince. Oof, this one hurts, doesn't it? At the top of the astronomy tower, you've got Dumbledore, the dark mark looming ominously above. The green glow creeps across the image, like Voldemort's corruption spreading into Hogwarts. And then, hidden in the shadows, you spot Draco Malfoy's reflection. This is so layered. It reminds us that while Draco was often the arrogant bully, in this moment, he was just a terrified teenager being forced into an impossible task. The reflection captures both his secret
Deathly Hallows. And finally, the big one. The cover shows Harry and McGonagall standing side by side as she summons the Hogwarts suits of armor to defend the school. Goosebumps, right? They're both in Gryffindor colors, McGonagall rocking her tartan robe, and the whole thing radiates a warmth despite the looming threat. Look closely at the armor, though. In the reflection of the shield, you can see Death Eaters approaching. But here's the clever part. Their reflection isn't shown on Harry or McGonagall. It's on the armor, the defense itself. It's a beautiful visual metaphor for resilience and hope. Honestly, it's the perfect way to cap off the series. Not just doom and gloom, but light, strength, and unity. Overall takeaway, my dear, these covers aren't just pretty art. They're exquisite storytelling tools. Each one packed with themes of reflection, hidden clues, and deeper meaning. From the stellar casts to the immersive sound world that Pottermore and Audible have conjured, listeners everywhere will be given a brand new way to be transported directly into these celebrated stories. And yes, when the audiobooks drop, they're not replacing the classics from Jim Dale or Stephen Fry. Oh no, they're sitting alongside them as a completely new experience. Less bedtime reading, more cinematic audio drama. Utterly enchanting. All right, time for the last batch of news. And honestly, this part is just as dramatic as the set leaks and Netflix rumors. Wouldn't you agree? Let's start with Neville Longbottom, or, well, Matthew Lewis, the gentleman who played him in the films. He gave an interview where he did not hold back about how peculiar it feels to see the reboot moving forward without him. He said, and I quote, "I haven't really thought about the series as a whole at all, really. I'll probably have to pay my therapist for a double session when I finally do think about it." That's rather harsh, but also very, very real, isn't it? Imagine being part of a franchise that quite literally defined your entire career and then seeing your beloved role recast for a new generation. It's gotta sting, hasn't it? That said, he did throw a little love toward the new Neville actor, Rory Wilmot, saying he's proud Neville is now canon Yorkshire. His exact words were, "I feel quite humbled in that Neville is now canon Yorkshire. Whether that's a tribute to me or not, I don't know. I'm going to say that it is." So he's clearly protective of the character, but he also understands that it's time to let the new cast shine.
In fact, he flat out said the last thing the new cast needs is for has-beens weighing in. Just let them cook. Respect for that, truly. He's basically saying, yes, it's tough, but don't let us old cast members weigh you down. That's rather classy, even if you can still feel the sting in his words, can't you? And finally, the never-ending drama. J.K. Rowling versus Emma Watson. This feud has been simmering for years, and it just got reignited, rather spectacularly, I might add. Emma recently said on a podcast that she still treasures Rowling despite disagreeing with her views on trans rights. On paper, that sounds like a rather gracious olive branch, a respectful disagreement while still honoring their past relationship. But Rowling was having none of it. Oh no, she clapped back hard, saying Emma is ignorant of how ignorant she is. She accused Emma of living a privileged life that shields her from real-world issues like single-sex spaces or shelters. And she doubled down on her claim that Emma, Daniel Radcliffe, and Rupert Grint basically act as de facto spokespeople for the world I created. To make matters worse, Rowling accused Emma of cozying up to a movement that regularly calls for a friend's assassination. That, my dear, is not just sharp criticism. That is scorched earth. So the feud isn't going away. Every time it flares back up, it rather unhelpfully drags the reboot into the crossfire. Because no matter how splendid the sets look, or how accurate the story is, the off-screen controversies are always hovering, aren't they? Like a rather persistent Dementor. So let's take stock of where we're at, shall we? We've got set leaks proving HBO is going full book accurate down to Piers Polkiss and... Daedalus Diggle, with practical sets, the Great Hall under construction, and even a royal family cameo. Truly a spectacle. We've got Netflix circling Warner Brothers with a possible $40 billion deal that could either supercharge Harry Potter with endless spin-offs or, dare I say, nuke the whole reboot if Netflix pulls its usual cancellation stunt. We've got brand new audiobooks with covers stuffed full of Easter eggs, upside-down Hogwarts, Malfoy chasing the snitch, Sirius's perspective, Tom Riddle hidden in the Triwizard Cup, reflections of Dumbledore versus Voldemort in Harry's glasses. Honestly, some of the smartest art we've ever seen for the series. And then there's the drama. Matthew Lewis, bless him, struggling to let Neville go, and J.K. Rowling versus Emma Watson keeping the headlines fiery. The truth is, my lovely lore explorer, this reboot isn't just a TV show. It's a cultural storm. It's nostalgia, controversy, hype, and chaos all rolled into a delightful, bewildering package. And we're still 2 years away from the premiere in 2027. If it's this wild now, just imagine what the next leaks will bring. So, now I want to hear from you, darling. Do you think Netflix buying Warner Brothers would save the reboot or doom it? And which audiobook cover blew your mind the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I'm absolutely diving in and replying to as many as I can. That's all for now, my lovely lore explorer, but don't wander too far.
But Dumbledore's just been caught on camera again, and this time he wasn't alone. Oh no, our dear John Lithgow, yes, that John Lithgow, was spotted filming as Albus Dumbledore for HBO's new Harry Potter series, with none other than Nicholas and Perenelle Flamel at his side. And honestly, love, it feels like the fandom's gone full alchemical meltdown. You'd think by now we'd all have learned to expect chaos whenever Hogwarts returns, but oh no, the moment those behind-the-scenes photos hit Reddit, the spell was cast. Fans on r/Harry Potter HBO and r/Pop Culture Chat are dissecting every pixel. Some are swooning over Lithgow's classic wizardly gravitas. He looks like a Dumbledore who's read the Silmarillion for fun, someone said. Others, less enchanted. Too muggle-looking, one complained.
Personally, I think he's got that twinkle. You know, the "you're about to break a school rule, but I'll pretend I didn't see it" kind of twinkle. Irresistible. Now here's where it gets delicious. Those leaked images might not just show Dumbledore wandering about for the aesthetic. Oh no. Fans like u/Mr. Ben 1980 and u/M and Devem Tag think we're witnessing a brand new scene. Dumbledore and Flamel moving the Philosopher's Stone from Gringotts to Hogwarts. Can you imagine? It's the kind of lore expansion the films never dared touch. U/Dalt even called it a proper subplot, which, if true, means we might finally see the politics, the trust, and the little spark of tragedy between those two old friends. I mean, immortality is bound to make good drama, isn't it? And the Flamels themselves. Oh, they've stolen hearts already. Someone quipped, "They look really young for their age, not a day over 400. To which another replied, "Drop the skincare routine." Giggle. Priceless. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? HBO seems to be leaning into that rich, whimsical, book-accurate style. The flamboyant Dumbledore in his shimmering robes, the ethereal charm of ancient alchemists. It's giving, well, like BBC period drama meets magical academia. If only I had a gown that sparkled like that, well, you'd never get me off camera again. Oh, and before I accidentally spill the Philosopher's Stone itself, make sure you're subscribed, love. You'll want to be here when we talk about what this means for Hogwarts' timeline and whether this Flamel subplot hints at flashbacks to Grindelwald or, dare I say, the birth of the Deathly Hallows. Now, where were we? Ah yes, Reddit's gone full prophecy mode. Some think the hospital wing scene's being reimagined. Others believe Dumbledore's casting a protection spell outside Flamel's home. One particularly poetic fan even imagined the dialogue. "But Dumbledore, you promised the stone would be safe. It will be, my dear Nicholas, at Hogwarts." I could see it, couldn't you? A tragic farewell before immortality fades. Oh, that's peak wizard melodrama, and I'm living for it. But here's the best part, darling. This leak suggests the show's stepping away from Harry's narrow view. We might actually see the wizarding world through other eyes, the politics, the secret histories, even the quiet heartbreaks. You know, adult magic. And that's where I think HBO might just win us back by giving us stories that hum beneath the surface, the ones the books only whispered about. It's like discovering Dumbledore's pensieve after hours, forbidden, beautiful, and very slightly addictive. Oh, bloody hell. I laugh. There goes my tea. Anyway, if this is what the show has in store, layered storytelling, bold reimaginings, and yes, a Dumbledore who sparkles with personality, then, well, we might be witnessing the rebirth of the franchise. And John Lithgow? He might just be the wise old phoenix rising from the ashes of the fandom skepticism. So that's all for tonight, my clever little lore lover. On your screen, you'll find my deep dive into why HBO's Philosopher's Stone arc could rewrite Dumbledore's entire legacy. Word from the latest leak of HBO's Harry Potter reboot shows Uncle Vernon in top-tier meltdown mode. Think red-faced, rain-soaked, and absolutely losing his mind over a barrage of Hogwarts letters. We're talking 90s British coastal holiday aesthetic. Damp car, soggy sandwiches, and Vernon pacing in socks with a shotgun. Yes, a shotgun. The leaked scene captures the chaos before Hagrid's arrival, with Petunia anxious, Dudley confused, and Vernon one wrong owl away from exploding. Fans are loving the accuracy, right down to the rover with questionable upholstery and a tin of old travel sweets. It's giving peak Dursley energy, and possibly hints at deeper lore, like proximity to Cokeworth, Lily and Snape's hometown. Oh, And a cheeky theory's teased. Didn't hear this from me, darling, but someone's been flying a drone over Hogwarts. And what they captured? Oh, it's pure, unfiltered magic. A greenhouse rising from the earth like herbology herself whispered it into being. A crumbling stairway into what might be the castle, and a suspiciously quaint little cottage that's either Hagrid's new bachelor pad or, well, we'll get there. Let's just say the leaks are coming faster than a firebolt in a thunderstorm. And I've got opinions, my lovely lore lover. Right, let's begin before the ministry finds out I'm telling you all this. So, picture it, a near-complete greenhouse, glinting in the soft British light, still under construction but already brimming with promise. You can see crew members fiddling about with timber planks, tools scattered like Bertie Bott's beans, and someone definitely dropped a wrench or their wand. Can't be sure. And let me tell you, the internet has opinions about this greenhouse. Some of you out there are saying, just looks like a Victorian-era greenhouse, or just a standard-looking Victorian greenhouse then. And yes, darling, it is giving classic Victorian elegance, but we're talking Hogwarts here. Others are comparing it to the Hogwarts Legacy game, asking, could you please give us a photo of greenhouse in the game from the same angle? And the general consensus seems to be, they're pretty different, or even a blunt, it doesn't even look similar. Honestly, some of you are calling me inking blind for even suggesting a resemblance. If you squint, and you will squint, you'll spot a few leafy friends peeking through the glass roof. No mandrakes yet, thank Merlin, but I'm sure they're coming. The whole thing looks like a cross between the Greenhow from Hogwarts Legacy and that dreamy elf enclave in Rivendell. You know the one. Honestly, I think Professor Sprout would weep, joyfully, of course, or possibly from the pollen. Ah, too hot. Typical. Anyway, while that was enough to have me quietly screaming into a scarf, what truly got my wand in a twist was the next bit, the first constructed piece of Hogwarts Castle, built right on the grounds of Berrybush's farm. Yes, that's a real place, not something out of Beatrix Potter meets the dark arts. They've crafted a stone staircase, ivy creeping up the sides like it knows its cues, and a charmingly eerie blue screen roof, which means, of course, CGI Hogwarts roof incoming. They're saving budget, but also, darling, they're future-proofing. Changing the roof design later, adding lightning strikes, hiding a certain basilisk-sized secret under the tiles, entirely possible. You know, some of you are right there with me on this, seeing this smart play. Now, come closer. I have a theory. They're building an interior behind that facade. I saw scaffolding that could very well house a classroom or the entrance to the Gryffindor common room. You know, the one with the fat lady and the better wine selection. And on this, I'm hearing whispers of hope from you all. I'd love that and hope they do build huge castle interiors as much as they physically can. And I would love it if the common rooms would look as they do in Hogwarts Legacy. All four are incredible. You and me both, darling. And before I summon a Patronus to calm down, you, sweetheart, make sure you're subscribed. Yes, you, I know you're deep in this too, so just click that little button before I accidentally reveal which house you be sorted into based on your tea order. Right, where were we? Oh yes, zooming out. Now, this drone photographer, may they be blessed by the ghost of Helga Hufflepuff, captured the entire construction layout, 5 separate structures. But Daddy's gone mad, hasn't he? Oh yes, word from the wind and a very soggy Reddit thread is that Uncle Vernon, our favorite drill-loving muggle and master of overreactions, has officially snapped. I'm talking red-faced, letter-dodging, shotgun-brandishing energy, and it's all happening in what appears to be, oh, how do I say this delicately, a gloriously miserable 90s British coastal holiday, deliciously accurate. I can practically hear the seagulls, smell the damp caravan curtains, and taste the travel sweets from the glove compartment.
The ones that have definitely been there since Thatcher. We've had a bit of a leak from the upcoming HBO Harry Potter series, and oof, if this scene's anything to go by, they're finally giving us unhinged Vernon in all his grumpy glory. Shotgun? Check. Mahogany trim rover? Check. Eyes darting like a Quidditch seeker on espresso? Absolutely. And Petunia? Oh, she's perched in the front seat, watching her husband unravel like he's just seen Dobby in the mirror. Dudley's in the back, probably wondering why the ceiling's leaking indoors. The whole scene? Peak British family breakdown. Like Percy Jackson meets Alan Partridge. No, wait, that's not right. Percy Jackson, if his quest was to survive Butlins with a cursed child and a collapsing marriage. There we go. Also, fun little detail, apparently they're using Harry's double for a lot of these shots because of, child labor laws and all that sensible stuff, which I suppose makes sense, though it does mean our little chosen one is often replaced by a tiny mop of hair and anxiety. Relatable. Ooh, and before I spill the next secret, make sure you've subscribed, love. You'll want to be here when I explain why that beach they're stranded on might just be near Cokeworth. Yes, that Cokeworth. The Lily and Snape lore is never accidental. Just trust me on that one. Anyway, if Vernon's this close to combusting before Hagrid kicks the door in, I cannot wait to see what happens when the half-giant shows up with a pink umbrella and a cake that looks like it fought a bear. Honestly, I might combust with him. That's all for now, my lovely lore explorer. But don't wander off just yet. On your screen is my deep dive into why the Dursleys Drill Company might not be as muggle as it seems. There's something odd about Grunnings, and I'll prove it. Click it.